It was a monumental weekend. President Trump meeting with Putin, and now today meeting with Zelensky. And I'm going to kick it over to Will because this is an important time, obviously, on the world stage. You have all these world leaders coming in.
What President Trump said last week was, I am going to get the two to the table. I'm not going there to sit here and negotiate on behalf of Ukraine. I need to get both sides to the table to end a war. And when you talk about coming to a peace treaty, what Rubio here is talking about is that a peace treaty doesn't mean that one side just walks away and gives up everything, especially when that side has lost a lot of people, has taken a lot of territory, that would be called a surrender, not a peace treaty. So let's go ahead and listen to Bite 14. This kind of shows insight into how they're negotiating this as well as the Ukrainian president arrives today.
This is about what Ukraine can accept and what Russia can accept. They both have to accept it. Otherwise, there won't be a peace deal. Okay? If there aren't concessions, if one side gets everything they want, that's called surrender. That's called the end of the war through surrender. And that's not what we're close to doing because neither side here is on the verge of surrender or anything close to it.
That's the entire point here, is that Russia has made gains. I don't think there's a world ever, no matter who's president, that would be able to negotiate something where Russia surrenders. And at that point, that is what the left media is calling for, is a surrender from Russia, which has been on the offensive for several years now and taken territory, that at some point, if you want the war to end, there has to be negotiation.
Yeah, and there has to be the best outcome for the parties involved. So an outcome that Ukraine can accept, an outcome that Russia can accept, and go to their domestic audiences and say, we got what we needed out of this. In Ukraine's case, it was what the U.S. has got on the table is basically like an Article 5 security pact without joining NATO. And in exchange, so you'd have all of Europe and the United States backing you up against future potential Russian aggression in exchange for land and some of those territories that Russia has held in dispute since before they even invaded and took Crimea. So this is, again, the sticking point. Now, so far, Zelensky has always said when it comes to land, they're not having any discussions there. So I think what's key today is there any wiggle room there?
Remember, Joe Biden put us in a terrible position by creating a hostility with Russia, not talking with Putin. So we have to now build a little goodwill. We have to be able to make sure that both sides understand that we want peace, that we're going to do the middle guy is going to be the hard negotiator. It still is all about Ukraine and Russia. But the facilitator, President Trump, is somebody who has an enormous role by pushing, prodding, and also letting them know that we're listening and we want a solution. Now, look, the critics, the black and white types who just want war or peace and they don't understand how to get there, they're going to complain about everything. They're going to complain that the facilitator is being too nice to one side. I'm super comfortable with that. President Trump is comfortable with the critics. I think if you want peace, you're going to have a leader who steps up, takes criticism that they were either too tough or too weak, or depending on the side, just getting the complaints constantly. Sure. I think that's okay as long as you bring about peace and you stop the death and destruction.
All of these people in the media that are pushing this narrative are not dealing with reality. And I think what's different about Marco Rubio, President Trump, the Vice President, J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, all of these people are actually trying to get to an outcome that is based in reality, because no one believes that Ukraine will surrender and say, take our country. Right. But also, no one believes that Vladimir Putin will say, okay, you know what, I should have never done this, and just retreat away back to Moscow and leave nothing at the table. If you want this war to end, there are really only a few options. Either one of them is defeated militarily, right, and the only way that Russia would be defeated militarily would be U.S. troops on the ground fighting Russians. That would be World War III. The only other way would be concessions from both sides to be able to end the killing in the war. There's not really this third way that it seems that many on the left and senators in the United States Senate that are on the left are saying that, this is ridiculous. President Trump's just going to get played by Putin again. I think the only ones that are clear-eyed with a sense of reality about this is the Trump administration, saying there needs to be negotiation if we want this war to end and not expand further.
If you're Russian, you've got to be able to go back to your constituents and say, this is why it was worth what we did. We got this, and it's going to secure this for the Russian people. And if you're Ukraine, you have to be able to go back and say, we were able to bring an end to this conflict by getting this from the rest of the world, this agreement from the rest of the world to back us up in any future aggression. And so we're able to give these, we'll see this sliver of territory that didn't really want to be part of our country anyways. And that's how you have to then sell it to your domestic audience.
It's not going to be solved today. We're going to have to go back and speak to the Russians. So you want momentum. You want to be able to have a progress a little bit better today than you did yesterday. And so at the end of today, after they hear from Zelensky and the European leaders, I think there's going to have to be a conversation again with Putin to say, here's where I think we might have some movement or some wiggle room.
People are spinning this as they're trying to pressure.
Well, and I think we should play this because this is Margaret Brennan, who has famously said crazy things about, maybe you don't know what started the Holocaust, which was free speech, to Marco Rubio, by the way. Here is her new hot take with Marco Rubio and his pushback from yesterday.
What network is this on?
On CBS, Face the Nation.
There is concern from the Europeans that President Zelensky is going to be bullied into signing something away. That's why you have these European leaders coming as backup tomorrow. Can you?
No, it isn't. That's not why they're coming as back. That's not true. No, but that's not that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're not coming.
That February Oval Office
they're coming here
meeting
tomorrow
in front of television cameras where President Zelensky.
Do you know how many meetings we've had since then?
Oh no, I know, and I was just up in Alaska watching the one with Vladimir Putin where a red carpet rolled out.
No, but it was Zelensky. We've had more meetings. We've had one meeting with Putin and like a dozen meetings with Zelensky. But that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're coming here tomorrow because we've been working with the Europeans. We talked to them last week. There were meetings in the UK over the previous weekend.
And they said President Trump was going to demand a ceasefire
as early as Thursday. No. But you said that they're coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're not coming here tomorrow. Oh, this is such a stupid media narrative that they're coming here tomorrow because Trump is going to bully Zelensky into a bad deal. We've been working with these people for weeks on this stuff. They're coming here tomorrow because they chose to come here tomorrow. We invited them to come. We invited them to come. The president invited them to come.
They're coming to try and protect, as if they can just show up at the White House too, to prevent him from being bullied.
They're knocking on the door. Oh, we just don't want you getting in a fight with Zelensky again. No, they're trying to be a united force of the Western world to pressure.
By the way, if that is what it is, then maybe we need to be looking at what it is because every country saying, "Look, listen here, it's Zelensky. We got to talk." Okay.
I think more of this is can we come together with a united agreement that we present to Putin?